Ashana lengdelelo pokno regelitu ngor Sidai TV angkolongan tariki na bola pale tomonare telari longa lifuniare otikita mobo oltipilido tala Jumatano na kuna ngoro kyolo monte Sidai TV kaji Samson Simpiri aka Newsman. Ore tolo monte njengiroshi nelimu lomoni nchere itadedeye o rais Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta ajore tialo uchumi ngope Kenya neno rogembulu no toka tukul tenebo karsisisho na robonari tangope Kenya esotu no toro pianoshi na sieki ramatare telo shole Kenya romonglo de yo rais Uhuru Kenyatta egra rodienga jikpo kira abunge kitoke lo shole Kenya National Assembly tenebo bunge Senate tendonata na kidolo katiba ajogishi akinonia sadani ritinga rishata nabaye erikore nyete katiba ezolimu rais Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta ajora na niteru lali longa lifunero tomono kuni erikore na ore uchumi ngobe Kenya nilepwa amore oloshole Kenya tiatu alosho na watakarisisho na nambari tomonara panile bwa bege nambari eile irudulu ajogeti mbuluno tona shaka no yogi tena rishata ore mbani toe magi wa rais Uhuru Kenyatta na dene besile na ara naga ngobe Kenya na yolo ya jonyeshe ebuya omono perumogni putunye budget na sigi mbe maendeleo wana matare ngobe Kenya ore ngai be ni toe magi na ngolikino na grai maltunga nakile ngobe Kenya.
However, choices are nothing without leadership, and I say this because when COVID-19 hit our country, my administration found itself confronted with a dilemma of two rights. Opinion was sharply divided on whether to lock down the country or to leave it open. On one side of the divide, they presented an economic argument. They advised us to leave the country open and save the economy, and they argued that COVID was a health crisis that should not trump economic imperatives. The other side of the divide made a compelling health argument against the economic argument. Led by a brain trust of medical scientists and researchers, they argued that the country had no option but to lock down. Their models pointed to a soaring crisis if drastic choices were not made. According to these experts, a series of irreducible minimums had to be met before considering softer health protocols. Indeed, after much reflection, we opted for the public health argument over the economic argument. Our rationale was that you can always revive an ailing economy, but we cannot bring to life those who die from the pandemic. And with this logic informing our choices, we set out to build the irreducible minimums recommended by the experts to forestall a COVID disaster. Although the health argument won, we did not dismiss the economic argument in toto. We made fiscal choices to cushion the economy through a number of economic stimuli. And today I'm happy to go on record in this august House as having succeeded in the choices that our administration made. Because of our fiscal stimuli, today I can report that the impact of COVID on our economy was 14 times lesser than that on the global economy. As part of the first stimulus package that we announced interventions that warranted the national exchequer to forego taxes amounting to Kenya shillings 176 billion. These tax measures included the immediate reduction of VAT from 16% to 14%, 100% tax relief for all persons earning up to Kenya shillings 24,000, reduction of pay as you earn from 30% to 25%, reduction of corporation tax from 30% to 25%. We also caused the lowering of the central bank rate, the CBR, to 7.25% from 8.25%, so as to prompt commercial banks to lower interest rates applicable to their borrowers and thereby avail much needed affordable credit to MSMEs across our country. We lowered the cash reserve ratio, the CRR, to 4.25% from 5.25%, so as to provide additional liquidity of approximately 35 billion to commercial banks in order to directly support borrowers that were distressed as a result of the economic effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. The Central Bank of Kenya also provided flexibility to banks with regard to the requirements applicable to loan classification and provision of loans that were performing as of the 2nd of March 2020. We further engaged banks and all financial institutions to support all enterprises and families that sought to restructure their commercial banking through debt moratoriums and review of tenure of these facilities. There was a temporary suspension of the listing of the credit reference bureaus of any person, micro, small, and medium enterprise, and corporate entities whose loans had fallen overdue or was in arrears. The Kenya Revenue Authority was directed to expedite the payments of all verified VAT refund claims amounting to some 10 billion shillings, or in alternative, allow for the offsetting of withholding VAT in order to improve cash flows for businesses.
Etudumunye tengata euni aitaredeyie ajo king'oru olorika le bunge ontomonok te county enkare Narok Lydia Naneu enole Masekonde etii apa enkesha olari loonkalifuni are otomon okuni tenebo olari loonkalifuni are otomon oopishana neitu apa etum ilo orika teilo kekun tengelare. Olorika tenakata otonita soipan enole Kudate naa kejoito kelo aing'oru olorika le gavana teina county enkare Narok etorikishe katitin are anaa embungei e county anaa women representative te bunge kitok olosho le Kenya. Ore Lydia Naneu enole Masekonde naa entito orministai apa le serikali tenkata nabo norbungei le Moikuape ya county e Narok otoriko terishata naado olemekure apa eetae William Rongorua Ole Ntimama. Ore tenkang enye temurua naapaasha nipotu elatia tenebo olchoreta itaredeyie enkitashoto enye nejo kelo aitashe torkioma lormashungwai le ODM laa ninye erikito olarikoni le ODM Raila Amolo Odinga enaa naliki yiok Milton Ole Salaon.
Emurua onaapaasha tiatua ward orkerenket le Narok. Ninye emanya elatia Lydia Masekonde.
Raila Amolo Odinga. Raila Amolo Odinga.
Tene etonyorrakita ina latia enye metijing'a eyiare olorika loontomonok tina county tengelare olari olotu loonkalusuni are otikitam aare.
Ntomonok kishu lorpayiani onkera ang' kiponu ajoki Lydia kinchooyie nkamulak mpaka shomoto omonu kurai edekai tung'uai nena kop metaa ninono. Nekisapot Lydia mpaka nikintabaiki osaduku. Nikiriambaki ODM kira naaji ormaasai nimikirikino. Kira na baba. Etejo baba. Etejo baba.
Kaji nanu Ben Ole Sadera eng'ole olturrur nikietuo duo emurua naapaasha eipoto yiok Lydia alotu aliki yiok entoki nayieu nchere pee kiponu aibung' enkaina tolorika le Women Rep peelo aya 2022. Emekitoning'okinote lelo maasai? Mailepie enkaik emekitoning'okinote?
Ibalie enchipai enye Lydia Masekonde teelo ina baye nibalie sii ajo nchere orkioma le ODM elo aipurrie tina kesha.
Aigil ajo ashe oleng' nooro empati natii naa ene ODM. Nikijoito baba ni Raila Amolo Odinga. Ninye orais ogira alotu. Eng'orua Raila katitin kumok. Eng'orua Lydia katitin kumok. Ore na 2022 azimio la umoja nayo. Kitejo njee mayian intae Enkai olosho lai. Njee mayian intae Enkai elatia ai. Elatia nainosa kishu. Njoo paatum
enkoriong inyi. Entoki nagira omonu embung'aki siaki. Entadamuaki Kenya.
Ore alapaitin ake otong'oro peetumokini aatubulu siasani peitodolu nkishu aing'oru kura negirai aishakino enkumoki olorere egirai aipang'u aing'oru lelo orikan ayaki kulo omon te Sidai TV temurua onaapaasha tiatua orkerenket le Narok aji Milton Ole Salaon.
Ore oltipili le taata entariki nabo olapa le 12 te pooki ari nedamuni oshi enkolong naji ene World AIDS Day. Oltipili tele odamuni esayie te biitia wemanaroto enye tiatua enkop nalulung'a. Ore apa enkipirta sapuk oleng peiteng'elaki ena olong naa keji peetumoki iltung'anak pookin aatayiolo enekununye enkitasuro wenekununo sii enkibokunoto anaa eneikunari peedaari ilo meitai yioloti enaa HIV and AIDS anaa ninye eji biitia tenkutuk ormaasai. Ore tena rishata neitodolu ajo ore tenkop e Kenya naa 1.5 iltung'anak oota ilo meitai le biitia anaa HIV and AIDS. Itodolu sii ajo ore irkiliku oibala naa nchere ore lelero tenkumoi nemenyorraa aneure aapuo meipimi ilo meitai le biitia. Ore enkai baye nanyamal oleng naa kitodolu ajo ore enjurore nataasaki naa ore lelero neure katukul enutai alang ormeitai le HIV and AIDS. Na ina peidol ajo ore ninche eyioloi ajo ninche otumore mbaa kumok oleng tenebo sii enkwetata neton eeta eneneng'i okulie baa oosikarri naapuo ajing'aki neyioloi naa ajo ore ematua sapuk oleng naa toonkoitoi eloloito idimi naaji aitasurore ina keeya naji ene HIV and AIDS. Ore kulie baa naibala tormeitai le biitia naa orgela ogelari iltung'anak oitasuroki ina keeya neitodoli ormena toonkang'itie anaa enikitodua te shakeni oonkolong'i naatulusoitie ajo eketii iltung'anak ore peeyiolouni ajo keeta ilo meitai neitodoli enkong'u sero nemeishiakino ina amu kitodolu ajo ore engelata etau naa ninye naar lelo tung'anak alang emoyian makeon. Itokini sii aaku keetai enkutisho oomasaa naidimi naaji aibokunye ilo meitai le HIV and AIDS naa mpirai oshi naasishoreki naaji tenkata naaji naasi nkiasin oolelo oonyorra anaa ninye naaji condoms okulie ake naibokunyeki. Etejoki ore naaji enkishorunoto enena condoms naa ikutik oleng naa kitodolu ajo ore wuejitin naaji nenarikino neboreki anaa ninye universitini, wuejitin neetii lelero anaa youth empowerment centers, orkurrot pookin, sipitalini esirkali, wuejitin pookin neyioloi ajo ketii olorere anaa nkiwanjani sapukin anaa stadium tenebo sininche kulie wuejitin kumok naa kishiakino neetai nena pirai naaji ne condoms peetumokini aibooi ina kitasuro ilo meitai le HIV and AIDS. Ore tenolong naa etii endakitari nabo naing'ua olosho loolamerikani yioloti anaa Dr. Stacy Riza naasisho te clinic naji ene Mayo Clinic naa etadedeyie nchere ore enkitasuro ilo meitai nemenyayie kake ore enetii engoloto naa tenaa kenyorraa iltung'anak aalimu aasioki peetumokini aing'uraki embaata anaa enkibokunoto lelo keek le ARVs okulie ake oitoi anaa endaata sidai peetumoki oltung'ani aibooi enkitasuro ilo meitai anaa ninye naaji endaari naitebebek osesen teneeku ibung'a ina keeya.
If every person in the world who had HIV infection were diagnosed, linked to care, and on effective therapy so that their virus was suppressed, HIV would be gone in 1 generation. It's a whole new world. And for those of us who are a little older and started treating HIV in the 90s and saw that world, it was tragic. We watched just wonderful, wonderful people who were brave and fought their virus, but unfortunately we weren't able to stop the virus from replicating, and the patients got opportunistic infections and cancers and many times died of them. Nowadays, as long as a patient comes to their HIV clinic, takes their HIV medicines regularly, and we're able to block the replication, they live very long, healthy lives. Most of the time, no other person would ever know they have HIV. We have patients who are marathon runners. We have people who are in their 60s, 70s, 80s. In fact, in our clinic at Mayo, some of our older patients are in their 90s now. HIV is a serious infection, but it is very easily treated or managed in those who seek health care. We encourage everybody to get screened for HIV. We realize that there is no stigma associated with HIV, and we hope the population understands and begins to realize that as well. And that people with HIV who are on effective therapy live very long, healthy, full lives with families, children, jobs, hobbies, that It can be a manageable disease. People live with their HIV rather than die of their HIV, just like people live with their high blood pressure rather than die of their high blood pressure nowadays.
Nikita baik ngorokyo lo montano long the Sidai TV kaji Samson Simpiri aka Newsman.